And boom, we are live.
Oh,
Welcome
okay,
everyone.
cool. Hey
Um, so,
guys.
so we're doing the new setup, which I haven't had time to innovate any further since the last time that we did this. But this is a bit of an emergency show.
Is it?
It is. So we've arranged this in haste because it's funny. I've been watching. Oh, let me turn off my speakers. I've been watching a show that I've been finding very disturbing, and that's been a subject of wide news. And I've discovered that two things about this have intrigued me. One, the fact that Victor has not been watching this,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
and
Right.
two,
I did see your Facebook post, but you said you were watching something
yeah,
about Jake Paul, but I don't know what it's about.
Shane Dawson has basically been doing this series that's one of the most watched things ever done on YouTube. He's doing an 8-part investigation into Jake Paul, and he's come to some very disturbing conclusions that I believe perfectly describe Victor. And so
Really?
it makes me kind of want to find the Shane Dawson in myself and try to discover with you
Who am I? Who are you comparing me to?
Jake Paul. So you
You
obviously
mean
not
his
like Jake
dashing
Paul.
good looks and his muscular muscles?
Yes, that is exactly what I think you're similar to. So, the idea is that they kind of do this. They make this big deal about. I think they describe a lot of people on YouTube. In fact, they go through what are the things that make people express unpopular opinions that engage in activity that attracts drama and attention. And what is there's this
I know
thing.
people like that.
Yeah, some people, you get a lot of kind of just weird people on YouTube, and there's this thing. Is there something different about us? That sort of about people that will make people want to go and video themselves and express strong opinions. And I watched this and I thought, wow, this is really interesting, and I think there's a really good applicable case here. So, just with the setup, everybody, just while we're letting people roll in, Victor can't see me, so
You can see on the screen. I mean, the delay.
Of course, you can see the video thing. Oh, of course. Okay, so you can see him on the YouTube thing, right?
Yeah.
I've got this hooked up to Skype, and I can't use my camera for Skype and this, but I can capture Victor. So that's how this is working. But sound is okay, right?
Yeah, good. Very
Okay,
good.
let me just
Very good.
put this up through there. So, and yeah, we got Kimmy Kim Kim, who else we got in there? Ninjaru, Indigo, Carlos, Giancarlo Sainz, Steve from Berkeley, the J Blog.
Giancarlo.
Giancarlo. It's a good crowd there. Dave Hunter, good to see you.
I like the setup. Really nice, man.
Yeah.
Really.
So, I guess there's a thesis being put forward, which is that most YouTubers have a dark side to them. That make YouTubers in general, successful YouTubers, possibly the more successful they are, possibly the more common these traits are, that make them different to regular people. So I'd like to ask you first, Victor, think of yourself, and not just yourself, like other YouTubers that you know. Do you think there's something different about YouTube people, and about the way that we're psychologically wired up, that and particularly thinking of more successful, bigger YouTubers that you know, is there something different about them that helps them to achieve that success more easily, or is it just that they just work hard at it and they eat their cereal and whatnot? What do you think?
I think you're being racist to categorize all YouTubers in one category like that. That's just like saying, can all black people play basketball? Can all Irish people drink and fight?
In a way, we're asking. I mean, are YouTubers black people? I mean, are we different? Are we a category or not?
Well, you're saying black people are different?
Well, in the sense that there's an identifiable category that you're pointing out there that are of races, for example, and you're associating qualities to those people. So, is there a category of people that we can define that are good naturally?
Are there characteristics that most YouTubers
because Shane's
share?
kind of getting at that in a way. He's kind of implying there's certain types of people that are really good at doing YouTube videos. So maybe we are being racist against whatever group it is we're trying to define. But what is that group? What is it that's different about people who are good at YouTube? This is obviously not me, by the way.
Right.
But yeah, so you're quasi good at it. You're like you're like a big small fish or a small big fish, you know, and from that perspective.
I could be better. Yeah, I'm honestly frustrated by my inability to spend more time on it and do a better job because of my kids who I'm trying to divorce. And apparently, you can't
Yeah.
divorce just children, but.
I mean, you know, would you feel like
Well, let's see.
emotionally
Okay. Well,
upset to get rid of your children if it guaranteed more internet fame?
You mean if I could sell one?
Yeah, if you could say. Well, however way it came about, you know.
I guess. Well, everyone says that most of us are outgoing and extroverts, which of course is not true.
Absolutely not true, actually.
But people, when you're on camera, people think you want attention. You need the crowds to justify your existence and to validate. I should say validate your not just validate your existence.
Yeah.
And you get your worth from the comments here. So.
Yeah. Is that how you feel?
So Tokyo Drew is watching me, so I feel validated now.
Yes.
Um,
I feel better that when Tokyo Drew is watching. I feel protected.
I feel like I should pretend to be that way more. You know.
I've never seen anyone pull that one out before, but it's quite good. Yasashi89 saying, "Oh my God, it's Jeff Goldblum."
Oh, I get that all the time, man.
I've never. Now that they say that, I see it, but I've
Yeah.
never.
No,
I've never.
The big ones I get are Jeff Goldblum, and I used to get Robert Downey Jr. a lot, but mostly it's Jeff Goldblum.
I find it very interesting that you see yourself as Jeff Goldblum.
Well, I don't see myself as Jeff Goldblum, but people point that out
I see.
all the time.
Yeah.
Like it's not at all surprising.
Yeah.
So I think I think there's so many different YouTubers that it's just crazy to say that we're all one kind of person. But
if we were to say that we are all one kind of person, what would that person be?
Okay, what you mean if we were to whittle away or to
if we were to be racist towards ourselves as YouTubers, how would we be racist towards ourselves?
Okay, we all okay. We all think we're something. How about that?
We all think we're something.
Right. Everyone thinks they're famous.
Some of us. Some
and,
of them are.
And I will admit, when I first got on YouTube and I got 3,000 subs, like in the first month after being the editor, I thought that was going to make me something. You know, and and it was ridiculous. And luckily, I mean, listen, you got to forgive me. This is embarrassing.
I will not forgive you, Victor.
Over 10 years ago, I suddenly, boom, became the editor of YouTube for one week or whatever. And when that was announced, and YouTube put me on their front page, and I was getting literally thousands of subs a day. I would walk down the street, and if anyone looked at me because I'm a foreigner, I would assume it was because they spotted me on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
They saw me. The reasons people were staring at me changed in my head.
Yeah.
And I realized later, quite quickly, that nobody had any idea, of course.
But you do get spotted in the street.
Oh, all the time, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, but it's only by foreigners, rarely by Japanese. I used to a little bit more, but I'm not. I'm not under any kind of illusion that I'm famous or important or anything like that. But I think there was a short window of about 2 weeks when I was in Hokkaido with my wife.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation with a couple who were on YouTube, but they had no idea who I was. And I realized if they don't know, then obviously other people don't know. So I got over that quite quickly.
Yeah. There is something which I have seen among people who get that. It's like a bit of a drug. It's like they get that hit of a drug that when they first get that first boost and they start to feel popular.
Right.
And they can spend the rest of their time online trying to reclaim that feeling sometimes. And, well, two patterns, of course. The reason
sounds like you're talking about me.
well, I mean, I think we've all had our big moments that we've always wanted desperately to sort of get that rush again. It is a rush, right? It's a physiological thing.
No, yeah. You get a video that suddenly gets millions of views.
Yeah, and it's a high, right? And you come off the high after it. You kind of have a low typically after it's done, and then you typically do want to get it again. And I suppose there are people on the internet again, like the Poles, who I don't watch at all. I've learned more about them watching the Shane Dawson thing than anything else.
I've watched maybe 3 Paul videos in my life.
But there is that class. There's the 1%, the 1%ers of YouTube who are the people that really go on there, and they don't just do that one-hit wonder Rick Astley song, you know, they actually they release hit after hit. They manage to sustain enormous audiences, which I guess we understand a little bit better is partly due to enormous hard work that they do to do that.
Well, yeah, and having nothing else.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, so thinking back at your time on YouTube, Victor. I mean, I remember like when I first joined YouTube, and you know, this is like back when most of the people watching weren't even born yet. You know, I mean, YouTube back in the day was, I mean, a certain Tokyo Clooney, I remember once somewhat derogatorily referring to the community back in those days as like a CV ham radio operating community. It kind of was in a way. That's one way of looking at it, right? There were a lot of people talking to each other through video replies and expressing opinions and counter opinions. And then there was the kind of spin-off of that back in the day of people talking about the conversations that they were observing on YouTube. I mean, in a way, the original kind of conversations on YouTube were basically kind of drama, right? And the people who
that's how I got interested in YouTube, because I was watching the conversation. It was like people were sending messages to each other, and that was really fascinating to me.
Yeah,
that's what pulled me in. I wanted to be part of the conversation.
By the way, Logic Cost, good point. Not just Rick Astley, also take that. I'm deliberately misreading the comment.
I said, hey, so I noticed that the comments show up on the screen faster than they actually do in the comment section.
Oh, is that right? It's all plugged in, actually. So
yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That's quite nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So coming back, so in a way, I mean, particularly from those people from the time that you started on YouTube, you really started out from the perspective that, one, you were commenting and you were interested in the conversations that were going on, and drama's kind of taken on negative connotations that you know, over time, that weren't really there in the beginning. Drama was just, oh, this is really interesting, check this out.
Right.
But I think you were successful in the beginning because you were
because of that. Yeah.
But you were willing to throw in. You weren't just like, well, this is this guy and he said this and this other person said this, and you were actually throwing out your own bombs in the middle of that as well, right? I mean, you were good at it.
Yeah. Basically, I was honest, and I wasn't scared of sharing my opinion. I mean, not that most people are, but I think some people are, obviously.
But that's the point I want to get into. So I think a lot of people would care about, one, how they look, and two, you know, that idea about being honest, about sharing.
It's amazing that I put my face on camera that way.
more in terms of not wanting to be seen as disagreeing with somebody.
I see.
You know, like and the idea of being willing to go online and, you know, not care at the fact that you'd say something that would upset somebody else. Like, you know, it's an important thing, right? If you self-censor yourself too much, you've got nothing left to say. You can't do anything, and people think that they're going to go on the internet and make all these controversial videos, and then they discover, oh geez, they've got a day job and a boss and all the things that they thought they would do. The racy thumbnails, but there's a certain
it's happened to a lot of our friends. A lot of our friends have had to take videos down. Have had to erase even their whole existence on YouTube.
But you've never had a problem pushing the envelope, really, on pushing the envelope, have you?
I mean, I do censor myself a little bit. There's certain things I'm not going to talk about. Let me tell you about a video I never put up. I made this video years ago on how to put on a condom.
Yes.
And I was using a Homer Simpson doll and putting it on him, and then I put it on my head.
Okay, yeah.
And I put the condom over my head. It was very difficult, and I thought it was really funny. And then I was invited to speak at a high school.
That would have been your most recent video.
And when I got there, it was just like a one-day thing, but they wanted me to go there because they wanted me to meet the Australian girls who were there visiting the Japanese school, and they wanted me to help kind of give everyone activities because I was bilingual, so I could help, people, interact with each other. And it turns out that a lot of the Australian girls knew who I was because of YouTube. That was in the days when Japanese for Morons was much more. I was teaching Japanese all the time, and so people were like, oh, I've seen your videos. All the young girls were all the 15 to I don't know how old they were. I think they were a mix of 15 to 18, and they were all like, "Oh, I know your videos, I know your videos." And then after that happened, I thought, I can't put up this video of me putting a condom on my head with these high school girls in Australia are watching me.
Well, I
And they
mean,
made friends with these Japanese girls. And I don't really want high school girls watching. That wasn't my focus. My focus group was not high school girls. I did not realize that I had such a young audience. Because those are the days before you really paid attention to analytics. Like, you didn't really realize who was watching you.
well, I mean, on the one hand, it's good that you're protecting your head, but you're actually like safety first.
Yes, unprotected.
Okay,
Unprotected blogging. Unprotected blogging.
But this is a question I get. You know, does Victor have any filters at all? And that's a moment of self-awareness that you're able to share. Actually, that you realize that the condom demonstration wasn't appropriate for this.
Yeah,
for
I
the
thought it was
Australian
funny. I was
school
going to
girls.
do a little skit there with how to put on a condom. But yeah, not a good.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't a good look.
Yeah. But so I want to dig down. So what do you think have been some of the bigger drama flaps that you've gotten into?
Before we get into that, can you
Yeah.
let me make sure I understand. So Jay, what's the guy's name?
Jake.
Logan Paul.
He's
Logan
Logan
Paul-
Paul's brother, Jake Paul.
Oh, Jake Paul.
Yeah, little brother.
Oh, this is not about Logan Paul. This is about Jake Paul.
It's about Jake Paul. But honestly, they're like literally bros that are also bros. I mean, they're kind of the same thing. But yeah, from what I can gather.
Oh, and Jane Dawson.
Shane Dawson.
Shane Dawson. Yeah, I've seen him before. He's pretty funny. He's tried very hard. He's done a good job, I think.
He is trying very hard, and he's been very successful with
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And I've discovered the way to be successful on YouTube is to be really interested in discovering the internal motivations of people and acting kind of outraged and concerned at the same time. So that's what I want to do.
That's what he's doing. I haven't seen any of these videos yet. So
Yeah.
how long is each one?
40 to 50 minutes.
Oh my God!
And he's done 8 of them.
Really?
He's put out 4 so far. And they're crap. Well, you know, the last one was kind of interesting, but the first 3 were honestly like, I wasn't digging it. But I'm not going to subscribe.
But
to
why did you continue watching?
Morbidly, well, this is the thing. I'm sure. Apparently, there are 15 million other people asking themselves the same question right now.
How the stars? How the thumbs up and thumbs down rating on those things?
You know what? I haven't checked. I don't recall, but they're generating a lot of discussion. I mean, obviously, it's getting covered by the BBC. So, you know, I figured I could use 15 million views myself. So I want to do this because.
So I'll tell you some of the most interesting kerfuffles I've gotten into.
Yeah.
What kind of made me, I guess, I don't know, kind of
biggest dramas you've gotten
popular was a guy named Crossmac back in the day. There was a guy named Crossmac who was extremely popular, and he got popular for making these. He would take off his shirt and sit kind of in the dark with the computer light illuminating on him.
The classic age of YouTube,
right?
Yes.
and he would just talk about some things philosophical, sometimes just. It was like he was stoned all the time.
Yeah.
And he's a good-looking guy, kind of scruffy, and he would Ian Crossland is his real name. Yeah. I think he's done one Trident commercial. He's one of these guys in Hollywood trying to make.
Let me just clarify for a moment. I can stop you right. Did you just dox somebody?
Oh no, everyone knows that.
It's known. Okay, yeah.
I think because then he changed his channel, so he had Crossman. He was one of those. He was one of the first most daring people in the beginning. So he did this one video where he just watched somebody doing. He did one of the first reaction videos. He watched somebody hitting somebody. It was another popular YouTuber. And then he just laughed and his laugh was considered so darling that people just fell in love with him because he was just that's so funny. But he didn't have a shirt on. And he was young and good looking and sweet.
Did you try this yourself? Did you try the shirtless reaction videos?
I've done those, but I didn't do them because I was trying to it was just hot and
it just seemed logical. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't a big
natural.
deal. Yeah. I've done videos of me at the beach and stuff, so not that big a deal. But he did a lot of those. Anyway, he would do these philosophical videos. So he did this video about how maybe it's okay, when you're young. If you were young, and when I was young, I was approached by this older woman, and she was like trying to get in my pants and stuff, and I was digging it. So I think maybe it's sometimes some young girls. Or someone who's maybe not of legal age, if they want to interact with you in a sexual way, that's their right. I mean, they have rights to do that. So I think it's okay. Uh, and he was saying, I think it's in some particular cases it's not you're not abusing someone sexually if they're underage, if they want to interact with you in a sexual way. So he's basically trying to justify pedophilia.
Yes, it was going
Okay, so
straight to the statutory rape.
and his argument was actually kind of like the arguments that he was making were all kind of logical.
So you aggressively agreed with him?
Oh no, I went crazy. I went crazy. I was actually getting ready for work watching this.
Yeah.
I was so upset and pissed off that I think I'm putting on my ties. I'm going, what the fuck are you talking about? You cannot do that's some things are wrong. I didn't actually make any sense. I said it was all emotional. I was like, there's some things that are just wrong. That's just wrong. You can't do that. The video's still up there somewhere, and I'm like slapping my head. I'm like, that's fucking, I was slapping my face and going, you're crazy, and you just cannot justify pedophilia.
Well, that seems a reasonable. That seems a reasonable position.
Everybody, and at that time he was extremely popular, and I was a nobody.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Whoa, who's this guy? He's right. He's speaking the truth." And everyone subbed to me, and everyone sent me messages. And those were the days when you had video responsibility. And he was one of these guys who would let anybody respond to him. So he was very nice that way.
Yeah.
And I would say we actually kind of became friends, actually.
Okay, so that's a case where you did a big drama, and I can see how it was probably good in a way for your channel at that time.
Yeah, I was a nobody. I had like 100 subscribers or something.
But is there a time when you think you've ever? Because I'm pretty sure you have, where you've kind of gone and given someone a hard time in a way that have you ever reflected that maybe you overstepped the line a little bit?
Overstep the line?
Maybe not even overstep the line, but just that,
Yeah, the mirror thing was kind of not worth it, and it wasn't worth it mostly because I put out my videos, and then everyone else kind of backed off, and nobody else. Yeah, I'll tell you something. I think Charla was really smart. In that
I think Charla's very smart generally, actually, but yeah. Yeah,
well, she was especially smart in this situation. I would say I like Charla, but I kind of feel like I won't say she manipulated. I don't think it was a manipulation or a using of anyone, but I think she was smart in that she let everyone else make the videos.
I'm trying to channel. I keep telling myself the next thing Victor says, I'm going to channel a Shane Dawson reaction. I'm going to act shocked and say, "Oh my god!" But I can't do it because I'm finding this funny. But please.
So she didn't really take any. She didn't make any videos about the whole mirror thing.
Of course, that would be outrageous.
Right, but yes. Rachel did, and about everybody else did. Yeah. Everyone else did, including myself. And I thought it was kind of funny, and I wasn't angry with Mira. I just thought she was dumb to get caught.
Wait a minute.
Trolling someone.
You mean the idea of putting fake accounts and trolling and harassing and abusing people? The only thing that you saw wrong with what Mira did is that she got caught and not the doing? I mean...
Oh, no, she was... No. Actually, yeah, I didn't think the doing was that big a deal, because if that were a big deal, I should be angry at everybody. Half these people in the comment section right now are trolling me, but, we could get mad at all of them.
Yeah, but, creating...
And she lied, just like Kavanaugh. Like Kavanaugh...
Well, wait a minute, you're justifying fake accounts to attack your fellow community members.
I'm saying you shouldn't do that if you're a blogger.
Yeah.
You should never do that.
Well, I think that's what was really getting everyone, was the fact that she was a vlogger in a similar category and was doing this, right? But you were just...
But if she were a no-face troll who'd make... But this is the thing, there are people... There's one guy who down thumps every single video I make with 4 accounts in a row. Yeah. Immediately.
I mean, in a way, it's kind of a compliment.
It helps the video, and I'm living rent free in his head. Of course, he's in love with me, and he's been doing it for years, and I don't care, and it helps my videos. But it's just weird.
You'll never find out.
You're still thinking about me. But if I found out that it was you, or let's say Jake or someone that I never would have suspected, or Ozzy or Mully, then that, and then I found out, and then he denied it. That's where it would bug me, you know. And that's what bothered me about Miri. It was pretty fucking apparent that she was guilty, but she refused to admit it. And I would have said, okay, you caught me. That was really bad. I apologize, and that'd be it. But she would never admit it.
So, but most people were upset with the fact that she did this. But you're coming in on this
Because she's putting on a different face.
Yeah, but don't we?
Okay, let's look
at
a
different face.
Look at Mog Perry Pie. I don't know who she is. Let's just pick someone.
She's lovely.
Okay, well, I don't know her, but I'm just speaking her as because she's the last person to comment.
Yes.
So let's say that we discovered she had like 10 accounts.
Sure.
Well, I've never seen her before. I don't know what she looks like. She doesn't make videos as far as I know. So, you know, I wouldn't think anything. I just think she's got a lot of time on her hands and she likes to troll people. Some people think it's funny. Right?
Although you do sometimes take trolls pretty seriously. Like, one thing I remember I respect about you is that you're like, why would they say that?
They're good fodder. I mean, they can create videos. I can make videos based on trolls. I can make a whole video on like 10 mean comments and people would watch it.
Yeah.
And they would enjoy it. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to watch. What have you ever watched the diss battles, the rap battles where people like diss each other?
Sure.
People love that. People love seeing people get insulted.
You don't think about hurting their feelings as human beings when you do this stuff?
No, because they're hiding. You know. Yeah. They're hiding behind. You know. There's a couple people. I mean, if you're out there. Okay, like Reina tonight. I was supposed to meet Reina.
Yeah.
Tonight, to go out and meet them, but you know she's with her family and I'm with my family, and my wife is sick, my daughter's sick, so I couldn't go out and meet them. So like I would hold back on her if I had some beef with her, and I probably wouldn't do it, you know, on camera.
Okay.
But I might.
That's very ambiguous. So, but it sounds to me like your whole rationalization around this isn't based. It's kind of based more on efficiency in a way than morality, right?
The biggest factor of controlling everything is Jason All Sumo channel.
Yeah.
I really like the guy. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
I gave him some advice months ago.
Yeah.
That he completely ignored.
Yeah.
Right. Completely ignored my advice.
Right. And of course, you assume that your advice is always the best advice that people should take.
Yeah. So I'm like, why did I give him any advice at all?
Yeah.
You know? So it's kind of annoying. I mean, he's got a great channel. He's doing really well. He's doing great, gangbusters, but he just completely ignored my advice. And it was kind of like, I was annoyed. I wanted to call him out. You know? Say, dude, don't ask me for advice if you're not going to take it. You know? So that kind of thing. But I probably would have done it. Well, I'm doing it right now, aren't I? I probably would have done it.
Oh my God, you're doing it right now.
I probably would have done it more anonymously.
Oh, you would have created a troll account like me.
No. I mean, I would.
Oh my God, you just admitted to that.
I probably would have talked about.
He just said
how
that you would totally.
Sometimes I would have probably mentioned off the cuff that some people ask for advice and they never take it.
That's true, but then the idea of going after them and getting even with troll accounts is a step beyond what I'm used to hearing.
You can't get even with a troll account. It's impossible.
Okay.
I've never even thought about it. I just like making fun of them.
Which isn't addressing the question of whether you would do it. It's just saying you're just addressing the part whether it's possible to get even, which is a very sociopathic way to respond.
It's impossible. It's impossible to get even.
I find these lines of responses very interesting.
You know what my even is? When people give me shit, all I think about is, hey, I got 1 million views in July. I got 500,000 views in August, the dead of summer, which is the worst, on one channel, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm getting over 500,000 views every month without even trying. I didn't even upload anything in August, and I got 500,000 views. So, that's my answer to the trolls.
Oh my God! I mean, like, no, wait a minute. Like, so you think that basically the worth of people as a human being in this community can actually be measured?
It's all views.
Oh, come on.
No.
Mother Teresa could have a channel.
No. I know that it bothers them. I know that it bothers them that I'm doing well, despite their comments.
So basically, you're like the sort of guy who, whenever you get into a disagree with someone, you just check that you still have large balls, and then you're like, well, I'm okay. I'm still good.
No. Even whether first of all, they're never larger. they're never larger because people who have more views than me do not troll me.
Oh, that's well, yeah, yeah. You'd be doing
Chris
pretty
Chris
well.
Broad has never trolled me.
Yeah.
Chris Broad has messaged me privately on Twitter many times, but he's never trolled me. And he doesn't leave comments on my page either because that's
Okay.
that's what big guys do. They don't want to get involved with guys like me publicly.
Yeah. So good video, little
I'm
man.
outing him right now, right? But he's contacted me privately quite a few times.
Yeah. Well, it sends you messages like good job, little man. Keep plugging away with your hobby channel.
Has Tokyo Sam ever trolled you? I don't know. I blocked him a long time ago. I don't know.
Well, blocking
I'm
blocking
pretty
is
sure.
a pretty harsh measure. I mean, he's a person too. Why don't you just be nice to Tokyo Sam?
I was nice to Tokyo Sam, but then he just lied like he lied about everything. So I don't have time for people like that in my life.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I often think about unblocking everybody again, but the thing is, I just don't have time to. I can't be spending time writing clever comments to idiots on. I mean, it's fun. It's fun. I wish I had that time. I enjoy it, but it just I don't have that time. So
do you
the
have to write clever comments to everybody?
well, yeah, they got to be funny or clever. Otherwise, it's just what's the point? You're not just going to write something bad.
What about getting to understand them as a human being though, and getting to empathize with them and the suffering that they've been through?
When someone says, "Fuck off, Jew, Mexican, go back to Mexico." No, how am I going to get to know that
I
person?
mean, that person might have had a very difficult childhood. You never know.
Maybe he
right?
was raped by Mexican Jews. Yeah. And who knows?
Yeah, yeah. That is true. That is true. So
Right.
it sounds to me like the point you're sort of saying is, so there's a theory. The theory that's being thrown out. I want to get your idea on the theory
Okay,
that's going
sure.
around.
Remember, I have not seen these videos that he's talking about.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, Shane Dawson needed an expert to consult early on in the series. So he went to his therapist, not a psychiatrist, a therapist, although she did have a very big book on psychiatry
Oh,
on her
hold
coffee
on.
table.
He has a therapist?
Yes.
Okay.
And apparently she's lovely. And they had this conversation about there are sociopaths everywhere. And how to the
That's true.
surefire signs. So do you know what a sociopath is?
Yeah, yeah.
What's a sociopath?
I'm basically a sociopath.
Well,
but
okay. I know it's true in the most updated Wikipedia page on sociopaths. It actually does feature a photo of victim. But if we break it down into the characteristics, like what's your understanding of the characteristics?
Okay, so sociopath basically sees other human beings as goldfish
Hmm.
that he can manipulate and play with, and he doesn't really care if they die or not.
Yeah, yeah.
That's, I think, really simplistic, of course.
That's
So he
consistent.
can't empathize with other people. He can't
No
appreciate
empathy.
appreciate their feelings. So
So there's a theory. Well, first of all, they're focused on this one person in particular. But when they were talking about
is that basically correct?
well, they gave a definition which was so broad that honestly, it's a bit like a star sign. I mean, PewDiePie called it out actually very well. He said the way that they were describing it, everybody could describe themselves as being a little bit of a sociopath.
All right. Okay.
But yeah, taking that as kind of a loose, popular science definition or whatever, there is this idea that perhaps, starting with some of the big YouTubers, but certainly a lot of successful YouTube people, particularly people who do drama or outrage on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
are more likely to have some aspect of these tendencies that,
Mm-hmm.
to see other people like, to not have empathy, to see people like goldfish, to, and there's been some people saying, hey, I think there could be something to that. They also threw out one other stat, which is this idea that in society, and by the way, I've seen this get debunked, but they threw out this number: 1 in 25 people are sociopaths. Apparently,
really?
the true number there is this one. It's about what is it?
I would guess it's 1 in 1,000.
It's 3% of men and 1% of women have anti-personal disorders, like personality disorders are antisocial personality disorders. But sociopaths are a really small subgroup of that. These are just awkward people. I like about that much, and 3 times more for men than women. But they threw out this number: 1 in 25 are sociopaths, and anyone who acts like this, who acts insensitive or outrageous or takes risks or says things without considering how the other person's going to feel, sociopaths. And
Well, I'm
a lot
guilty of that all the time when my 3-year-old son is afraid of taking a shit, and I'm like, "What the fuck's wrong with you? Sit down on the fucking toilet and take a shit. How can you be scared of the toilet?" No, I should probably be a little more empathetic.
Yeah, yeah, that's a whole different. That's a disturbing and different line of conversation that I wasn't expecting to hear. You don't video that, do you? You don't post that.
No, no.
So,
And obviously I'm exaggerating, but in my head I'm partially thinking that when he refuses to take a poop.
I think in our own
And
heads we're all the worst kinds of sociopaths at times. I mean, when this therapist was giving popular ways of diagnosing sociopaths on the street, she was talking about people who get frustrated waiting for old ladies to cross the road.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, holy shit! I mean, honestly,
I was waiting in a bank line 30 years ago in New York City, and I was just listening to my headphone and pacing back and forth while this woman was taking her money out of the ATM. It was an ATM. It was just an ATM. Yeah. And she turns around, and she's like, "Could you stop that?" And I remember thinking, and I'm just pacing.
Oh, pacing.
Right, and I think I get headphones on. It must have been a Walkman. It was before iPod, so. And I remember thinking, "Wow, this woman's really fucking sensitive," you know. Yeah. But I always thought that there's a lot of people out there like that who just get really pissed off over nothing. Mm. I've got students who get furious if other students ask them any personal questions.
It's personal questions.
Like, do you have a boyfriend, or
and they
why are you asking me that? Why do you want to know?
Yeah.
You're like, it's just just making conversation. In the class, I thought it was a friendly atmosphere of the classroom. Yeah. They ask personal questions.
I mean, that can be a funny. When you know someone's, has an aversion to that, and you don't care, and you do it anyway. That's a little bit off, but you can't predict that for a lot of people. But coming back to this theory, do you think there's any truth to the theory that there's something about the way that YouTubers are wired not to care so much about what other people sort of think about things?
That's a good point. We are trained not to care so much about like mean comments, for example.
But you
kind of have to. If you don't, you'd be crying yourself to sleep every day. But I imagine some of us do.
I think they do, but. Going even deeper than that, though, I think there's something about the people who even get the idea to start doing videos of themselves like this. Mm-hmm. That I think this is something that normal people don't do. As much as I like to think that we're all normal, I think when we get together, we sort of recognize we're a bit of a club of weird people, and we can't really talk with other people. It's hard to find other people.
Can I talk about visiting your house?
I don't know. Oh, yes. Go, yeah, sure, go.
This is a great example. So this is a true story. Was I with my wife? I don't remember if my wife was there. Was my wife? Okay, so because she wasn't part of the weirdness. But so my wife and I and Atsuko.
Yeah, they were like
that Japanese girl, and I think and Cakes Bomb was there.
Yeah,
her husband now. And so the four of us visited Hiko Simon's house. His son was like 3 years old then, I think.
Maybe smaller even, yeah.
Yeah, really tiny. And his wife was there. Mm. And his wife, I met his wife for the first time, and she's very elegant. She had beautiful nails, really elegant nails, and had really dainty little feet. And she was just a very attractive and elegant woman.
The foot thing really sealed the deal, yeah.
Yeah. Well, she's about my slobbering. You found out my fetish, but no, I think her nails were painted even on her feet.
Yeah, probably.
Is that true? Yeah. Okay.
I don't pay attention to these things because I'm a sociopath.
So she was really nice, and she was very friendly, and to us, the guests. But
I think she turned to your wife and made that comment.
Oh, but not true, Jason. It's not true. That's why I still make these videos on this channel. But I'm not getting any money for this at all. You know that.
Anyway, I'm getting the money for this. I'm sorry. I want Victor to just keep talking. I'm just seeing dollar signs for
Give Me a Break Man make you know what Give Me a Break. I'll tell you guys. You know what Give Me a Break Man makes a day? $2 if I'm lucky. If I break $2 a day on Give Me a Break Man. So I'm still making videos on there.
I find as a positive-minded person, it's better to think of everything in Turkish lira. They're having massive inflation problems at the
Oh, really?
moment.
Okay.
You can actually like
So
5 cents is like
I'm a rich man in Britain.
10,000 lira. So keep going anyway. So yes,
All
I
right.
believe my wife turned to your wife.
Okay,
and-
so your wife turned to my wife and said, "It's so weird. He goes into the room and just talks to the camera."
yeah.
And it's just, what kind of person does that? And we were all like,
Don't you find it weird, this whole weird thing, people going talking to cameras by themselves and treating the internet like they're real people? Like, isn't that
and,
weird?
and the thing is, she did it with no malice. It wasn't anything like, she
Wait a
honestly
minute, now
didn't
I just
realize.
realized the point that you're making. You're making the point that my wife is a
She's a
sociopath.
sociopath. No, she didn't even realize that everyone in the room except her and my wife were vloggers, that we all did exactly the same thing.
Well, she was just expressing her opinion. It's kind of.
Yeah,
I'm trying to make a theory that YouTubers are the only sociopaths, and you're pointing out that in a room of YouTubers, the only non-YouTuber was the sociopath.
No, I mean, my wife has done some really, like, my wife is a darling, sweet woman, but she's also told me to go the fuck back to America.
Oh, I get told that like every week. Yeah. Well,
You get told to go back to America, and you're not even from America, right?
Well, that's right, which I found particularly disturbing and worrying. I mean, I wouldn't have anywhere to stay. I think we're taking a different route on the conversation than what I
Yeah, but
originally planned.
anyway, yeah, so the fact that we talk to cameras is pretty weird, and the fact that we can vlog in public. Well, you've done it too. You don't do it a lot, but
I'm a little bit
you've done it.
self-conscious, but
You've done it before. You vlog in public. I vlog in public, and if we're together, we're definitely going to vlog in public. We're not going to care about the people around us.
So here's the thing. Normal people, or my view of what the normal people are like, not being one myself, is that normal people generally grow up in one place. They generally have the same friends all of their lives. They generally they get wrapped up in the nostalgia, I believe, of their own lives to an extent. They revel in the first love, the first time they have sex, the first car. And I think the types of people who end up on, and for people like that, who have these really tight groups of friends, who have this really sort of community around them that never changes, the idea of suddenly going online and, like putting their face out in public and talking on the internet, they would be really self-conscious about what their community of real life friends around them how they would react to that. I think there's a starting point for anyone to go and turn on a webcam and start doing this. So, for example, I've observed as an army brat, a lot of fellow army brats in this field. You meet people who have moved around a lot as kids.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this thing, I don't care so much about my lifelong friends seeing this, because honestly, I grew up moving house every year. I'd always make friends,
Right.
go over to their house, play with them for a year, and at the end of the day, bye, go to the next place. So I've always found it easy to not worry about that so much, which I find liberating. But I remember there was this focus on the start of the series when they're looking at this, how the idea that, on the one hand, there's a sense that when you move around a lot and you don't value those kind of, a kind of a normal, stable, steady life, that you're missing out somehow in those experiences, and you don't value, the sort of milestone experiences of life as much. But at the same time, I see that as being an inhibition. People who feel like I could never put a video on YouTube. Everyone at work would see it. All my friends from school would make fun of me. No, I couldn't do that. It takes someone who's wired a little bit differently in the first place, I think, to start this. And I wonder if, when you talk about these characteristics of sociopaths,
Well,
which is a bit of an extreme way
let
to put
me
it, but
ask
I wonder if
you
there's something
about
there.
your first video.
Yeah.
What was your first video?
Well, apart from originally, I actually did a few videos with my rugby team, and stuff like that, just uploading random stuff. But the first planned video...
Were you in the video?
No.
Okay. Yeah, me too. My first videos, I'm not even in the videos.
I
I'm
was
actually just a
uploading videos.
voice on a black screen.
I wasn't even that in the beginning. So I wouldn't even treat those as my first proper uploads, because those were me putting videos online for my rugby club, stuff like that.
Okay.
I think the first video that I did as a vlog, I planned out, and it was sort of an experiment. I thought, and basically my idea was I wanted to, oh, by the way, this is another thing apparently sociopaths do, is they study normal people, or they study patterns that work, and they try to emulate it, and they try to imitate normal behavior. So, but again, it's totally normal that you would study other YouTubers, or that you would try to emulate what works, right? I mean, musicians do that, artists do that.
Oh, I see.
So my first
That's funny.
My first idea was, I saw SXE, I was enjoying SXE Phil, and I thought doing a Japan version of that would be kind of fun. And I wondered how well I could kind of do something like that. That was the original idea. And yeah, and I set out kind of a mission statement. My first video was a mission statement for I'm going to try this, see how it goes. And it's kind of funny, it was my viral video. There happened a few videos after that. It had nothing to do with my plan. My plan was I'd talk about news and Japanese culture. And then I did a side video, a sidebar, talking about, well, people keep asking me how I learned Japanese. Here's how I learned Japanese. Now stop asking me that question. I just made it so that to look at the video for that question. And that was my viral video, not what I was planning.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I think there's something I recognize when you meet other YouTubers, that they all, generally they're all people who are a little bit socially awkward. And in a way, I mean, of course, being socially awkward can be a kind of a burden through life for a lot of people. But at the same time, it's also kind of liberating, right?
I guess I was socially awkward in high school, but I grew out of that pretty quickly. I realized that I'm not an especially good looking guy, but if I move around quickly, I can kind of fool people that they don't have a time to focus on my face.
Yeah.
I can just keep the talk going. I can fool them. I can fool them with the silvery tongue, and into thinking that I got I'm worthy of being.
So in my case, I recognize it as awkwardness, but in your case, maybe it's something that you just don't care to begin with, or you've got a predisposition, I guess, to not worrying about what your IRL family or friends would think of you doing a thing like this, right?
Well, let's go back to that.
About that.
The first videos, the first 5 or 6 videos, I didn't even show my face. It was just a black screen with letters on the screen, and I was just teaching English to my students. And then I got over that and started talking. My first actual video was just me eating a donut on camera for like 30 seconds.
Oh, that's weird.
And because the conversation at the time, the big thing on YouTube at the time was like, you're not allowed to talk about marijuana unless you smoke marijuana. You can't criticize people who smoke marijuana. That was the argument that guy Crossmack I talked about.
Yeah.
So people were making fun of him, and one guy said, you can't talk about donuts unless you eat donuts. So I ate a donut, and he was my favorite. His name was Roger, the dispatcher. And so I ate a donut on camera. I said, "Can I talk to you now?" And I sent it to him as a video response because it knows as you could. And he wrote back, "I'm listening." And for me, it was like, oh my God, like he was my idol at the time.
Yeah.
He responded, "Oh, I'm validated," because he was really cool. I mean, those were the days when people were paying him money just to put their adverts in the beginning, just to put something on the screen, like this video was sponsored by, and he would get money for that.
Okay.
And nothing was monetized in those days.
But coming back, and this is sort of the point that my wife made that day, and a little bit along the lines of that, I think they're going to about internet fame, which I'm not saying that we are per se, but I think it's true of internet communities. I think most people value their non-internet lives a lot more. Online internet life is watching some goofy videos on Facebook and YouTube, and for fun, getting some laughs, putting some stupid comments, and going away. But making videos and caring about fellow creators on YouTube, that's a very small subset of society. And it's I think it is interesting to look at what makes those people who want to put content online, particularly content where they show themselves. If there's something different about those people to the rest of society that allows them, that is there an inhibitor that normal people have that we don't have that makes us do this? And as someone who makes more videos than most and has more channels than most and is willing to push the envelope further than most, is there, when you talk about inhibitions being lower for us perhaps, which is a characteristic of sociopathness apparently from this amateur therapist. I don't know.
Ben Affleck back in 1980, I don't know, 9
classic sociopath.
he said back in the day, when he was young, he said the ultimate acting would be a man would be would be playing a gay part and kissing another man on screen. So at the time he said that that was something that was out of his reach. Yeah. That he couldn't do. Right. So I think an actor realizes that if he wants to be better, he's got to do things that he's uncomfortable with, and do them well. Like Matt Damon played a homosexual in the what's it called, Liberace Boyfriend. I think he played that.
I remember something. Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I hear that I hear it's fucking incredibly sexual. I haven't seen it yet.
That's the
I'm
right
saving it. I'm
I've seen
saving
it.
it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. But the point is, I think if you there are certain things that we like. I've sung on camera
Yeah.
because there was something that I was scared to do, sing on camera. So I thought if I can sing on camera, then nothing else will bother me, because that's the most embarrassing thing I can think of doing. You know.
See, from my perspective, I think ahead to the consequences, so I'm careful. I'm less worried about something like singing, although I love karaoke anyway, so, maybe there's that. But I'm less worried about something like singing than I am about saying something that could get me actually in trouble at work, like, or something that could actually have a consequence of, coming back. I try to think ahead about those things.
Have you ever not made a video because of that? Is there any video
Of
you
course.
wanted to make? Well, can you give me an example of something you wanted to talk about but you couldn't? Maybe in your old job?
Just thinking about, well, look, whenever I'm covering news, when I was working at a law firm, if there was ever a news story involving a client that I was working with, I'd just not talk about that, right? So it's just a matter of when I'm curating content that I'm going to talk about when I do my news roundups. Of course, I'm not going to talk about anything that, could get, if it's successful, the client's going to see it and they're going to complain to the law firm, right? So, sure, I would censor stuff that to keep that separation. So I'm thinking of really practical-minded, like I should not be talking about this in public, even in an elevator, let alone on a video on YouTube. So my job entails that. So I guess I think about it that way, but I don't think about it in terms of embarrassment.
Oh, okay. So you're not actually ashamed of your opinion. You realize that there are negative.
I can see ahead. So I know that, for example, I think I'm fairly good at agreeing with politically correct opinions in the first place. I don't think I don't feel at odds with political correctness in most cases. But at the same time, I think if I was, for example, incredibly anti-gay, for example, I would like to think I'd at least be intelligent enough not to put a video like that online, because that would get you into trouble in a lot of companies.
That one of the first J vloggers did that. Remember back in the day?
I mean, I think back in the day, everybody was like that. I mean,
No, there was one. There was one Australia. No, I'm talking like 10 years ago. There was one J vlogger from Australia who made videos that were like homosexuals should not be allowed. Blah blah blah. You remember that guy? You and I talked about him.
Okay, I don't remember, but yeah.
I remember. Yeah, but that's an example of something. Yeah. But I mean, even I completely support homosexual rights. JL. What is that?
I do remember now. I remember now.
LGBT and all that stuff.
ちょっと覗き見だよ or something like that, right? It was like that guy.
Yeah.
I remember that guy. He was a religious person, and
Yeah.
like a lot of religious people said it's against the Bible, which actually I think is not unreasonable from your perspective to put.
Yeah.
But yes, nowadays, I mean, you can actually get into legal trouble for that. I mean, just in Tokyo, they passed an ordinance banning hate speech against gay people just the other day. So I'm lucky enough that I'm not conflicted by this in the first place. But if I was, I'd like to think I'd be smart enough to shut my mouth. So that I'd be careful. But that's not embarrassment. That's consequence. That's foreseeing, getting squashed by something later on.
Right, of course, yeah.
But I don't know. In terms of, I would say I'm not an easily embarrassed person. I mean, I can tolerate embarrassment reasonably well. I'm fairly careful about it, I guess. But how about you? Do you ever feel embarrassment? Because I must admit, you make a lot of videos, and I've never really detected embarrassment ever.
Well, I feel like there's things I should be embarrassed of. For example, getting drunk on camera sometimes. But I mean, there are no consequences to me. I own my own business. I mean, there's nothing like, and in Japan, even being drunk doesn't really. Oh, he's just drunk. It's no big deal. Do I ever feel embarrassment?
Okay, that's a good question. Do you ever feel embarrassment about about approaching any subject? Is there any subject you think you'd be too embarrassed to talk about? I mean, the whole reason you're compelling is that you have no embarrassment, but that's...
No, there are things that I'm ashamed of that I wouldn't want to talk about. I mean, okay, I'll give an example, so give your channel something. I cheated on an ex-girlfriend many, many years ago. Of course, long before. And I didn't realize at the time that what I was doing. Like, just, cheated on an ex-girlfriend. Yeah. And I destroyed a really good relationship. Well, I thought it was really good, but I mean, I'm super ashamed of that I did that, and And when she suspected it, she never thought it was. She never caught me. She said, "Is something going on?" You know.
Hmm.
And I said, "Yeah, I got to tell you. I want to tell you the truth." So I told her.
Yeah.
And I always felt ashamed of
Ha-
that.
So,
And that's something I've never talked about on camera. Like I've never like made a video about that. But I think it's something that a lot of people have done, and it's something that needs talking about because we're not. You know, I'm definitely a flawed human being, and I think a lot of strange people look up to me for some reason, and send me messages like, "Oh, you're my model coming in Japan." It's ridiculous. I got one today. I was like, "Oh my god, come on,
well,
man."
well,
Stop
that
it.
situation that you're talking about, I must admit, so to me, and maybe this is where I'm wired a little bit weirdly. Again, I deal with problems for a living,
Hmm.
and that's a really interesting problem. It's a problem I've had myself. It's a problem
I'm so ashamed of that. That's most of,
I
I'm like,
I don't. One, I don't feel so much shame, and two, I'm not embarrassed to talk about it. At least to the extent it's history. What I find interesting about that situation in Japan is I remember I had a French friend who came up to me with the same problem, and they said, I feel so guilty. I feel like I have to tell, I have to get this off my chest. I have to come clean about it. I know we have this culture that you have to come clean about our sin. We have to do like a Catholic confessional to our girlfriends
right,
about
right,
this, right?
right.
But in Japan, it doesn't work like that. You know about this, right? It doesn't work that way. Movies in America say that, oh, when you cheat, you've got to tell them.
Oh, I don't agree with that at all.
No, well, in Japan though, like when you, like in Japan, it's kind of funny. I've come to recognize multiple cases here, not always, not of me, but also of my friends. But it's happened to me too. And I learned the experience that I was told. It's firsthand. You only tell. There's one thing about going off, and a lot of Japanese people pay for it, or a lot of people will, will go and have like quasi uwakis or like soft uwakis or whatever, like affairs or whatever. But the idea is that
Uwaki means affair, by the
yeah,
way.
but you'll only tell your partner about it when you want to break up with them. So the idea that you would tell it to your partner but not want to break up with them, from a Japanese perspective, is like once you tell them, you've poisoned the well. You can't recover it from that. So it's basically like they'll ask you. I told my friend this from experience, and from my friend's experiences building up to this. I said, well, dude, one, I'd say if you want to stay with her, don't tell her. You're just supposed to suck it up and get cancer and
I
die.
agree. I agree.
But if you do tell her, she is going to ask you, why are you telling me this? And you've got to have a really good answer ready for that. And he told me it played out exactly that way, and this is the way it seems to happen here. So it's kind of weird for us. It's like,
Well,
it's
I
like
was
they're asking
I was
not to be
it was
told.
like 25 years ago. It
Yeah.
was with my first girlfriend, and I, for some reason, I thought she asked me, "Is something going on with you and Yuki?" And I'm like, actually, yeah, something happened last
Well,
summer.
why would you do that? So yeah, yeah.
You know what? Because I love, it was stupid. It was like some,
I
I was
know.
I was poisoned by love. I was like, I love her so much, and
I have to tell her.
I want to
I have to. Yeah. It's
marry her, and I should just get it all out, and we put it behind us. And but
yeah.
after but that, looking back, I realized that is the day the relationship died.
Natalie, that's exactly the point. That's exactly the point. It's basically, so this is the thing.
What did Natalie say?
The Japanese. So Natalie.
Yes, no, Natalie. Yeah, exactly. Natalie's right, and I agree with that now. But it doesn't mean I'm not ashamed of it.
Yeah. So the thinking is, yeah, exactly. If you feel this guilt, it's like, why should you make yourself feel better by unloading it and making a completely
Yeah.
innocent person feel
Yeah,
like shit? And they'll get angry at you in Japan if you do that. They'll say, why are you dumping this on me? This is your shit. Why aren't you just sucking this up and suffering? That's what you. If you feel guilty, good. Feel guilty, but don't tell me unless you want to break up. That's kind of funny, and I remember being really confused. But I think it actually makes a lot more sense than the culture that I come from. But it's a culture which kind of requires you here to be sociopathic, I guess.
But no, you're right. It's something that most people don't understand, but I completely agree with it. You shouldn't. Most people see it as a sociopathic. I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like you're supposed to share your feelings about everything.
And
Maybe this is where Japan works for me, because I don't really buy into that at all.
Just to summarize this, to make it very simple, just because I think it's worth summarizing. This is the bizarre logic here that I kind of agree with.
Yeah, I've come to
If
agree
you
with it.
cheat on someone,
Yeah, you have to suffer.
then don't fucking confess it unless you're intending to break up with someone. if your only goal in confessing it is to get it off, it's because you think you have to get it off your chest and be honest.
Yeah.
Being honest is actually a selfish thing to do, and
Yes.
you're just hurting that person. If your intention is to stay with that person, if
But
you can possibly get away with it, then
this is where we get
unfortunately,
messed up in the West, because we
should get away with
think we sell the idea of getting this off our chest by the idea that we have to be honest to them.
yeah,
So it's like we owe it to them in a way to do it. But honestly, if we really understand what's going on here, it's really to make ourselves feel
yeah,
better. And
yeah.
it's completely
You feel
ignoring the
better by
feelings of the
being
other
honest.
person.
Yeah, exactly. You're being sociopathic by ignoring that person's.
So I think the conclusion that we've come to
Feelings.
today is that being a sociopath is a really great way to get through life. And being a successful YouTuber, and for dealing with relationship difficulties, and
I agree.
we recommend it.
Definitely.
But you know what? I think that's where Shane Dawson's ending up going with this as well. I mean, the fact is, okay, maybe Logan Paul and Jake Paul are sociopaths. They're doing pretty well, right? I mean, these guys have become extremely successful, extremely wealthy.
The thing is,
and they're not owned by big corporations. They're doing this as young kids, and
Yeah.
they're killing it, right?
If you're a sociopath on YouTube, then you can put out shit and not worry at all about it. Let me ask you one last question before I know we got to wrap up. But okay, I'll ask you before I answer I'll give you my perspective. But have you ever been so bothered by something that happened on YouTube that you've lost sleep over it, or have you ever been really bothered by anything that's happened on not even YouTube, but just on the internet?
That I've lost sleep. There have been a limited number of times. There's been a couple of times where I've had trolls that have found my buttons, and I don't have many buttons, but I've had times where they've found it, and you get like wound up by that. The other time that it's happened is when there was a case a few years ago that we were talking about the other day, where a journalist who I criticized in an online, I criticized a news story. And the journalist actually started hunting down and doxing everybody on the internet who ever talked about his news story.
Right.
And I think around that case, although I didn't get really harshly, they didn't get to me so badly, other than some online sort of mean comments. But I remember it bothered me. That caused I felt stressed watching, what I thought was for other people being targeted, a really, a stressful situation about fair commentary. Two cases I can think of, but that's over the whole thing. No, I don't lose sleep over it. I think if you did, you couldn't do it. I don't know. How about you?
I did in the beginning.
Yeah.
The first few years I had a couple of trolls that really got to me, got under my skin. But now, no, they don't bother me at all. No, I don't lose any sleep over those people. I lose sleep over, I'll tell you, this is not something I'm actually proud of. One of the greatest things I've done in Japan is actually have kids. I think getting married, I mean, no offense to my wife, but I mean, anybody can get married. That's not that's an accomplishment.
I think it was your wife that had the kids, but
yes, that's true.
Men have the fun
and you shouldn't congratulate me for that. But being a father and not owning up, but doing my part as a father, which means paying the bills and coming home and playing with the kids and changing their diapers and shit. I think I've done a pretty good job of that. I think it's one of the greatest things I've ever done. But at the same time, it's kind of made me a little bit lonely in that I don't have time for any friends anymore. So, and it makes me feel a little bit, I mean, I realize simultaneously that while I'm quite happy in this role of being the father, I'm also illogically a little bit lonely that part of my life is gone. But I can't, I guess I can never be a bro again because I'm too busy being a dad.
Well, you can be a bro. We are bros of a sort anyway, and
because you're a dad too, so you understand. But
yes, dad bros.
But a lot of my non-dad bros.
Gang signals.
Yeah, you know what that means. You know what I mean. I mean, there's a lot of people. If you don't have kids, you just don't get it, and you don't have. No, it isn't that you don't get it. It's like they don't get you. They don't get you.
Yeah.
And that feels a little lonely.
And that's kind of life. And no question, there's also envy of
Oh, yeah.
people who are totally free to go and do all the crazy stuff that you wish you could do, but
Well, I'm okay with that. I've done a lot of crazy shit. I'm okay with that.
So look, I'm gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Thanks everyone for joining. I think we have gained deep insight into the dark mind of Victor.
So we both agree that we're both sociopaths, but in a good way.
I think we're very affable, likable, friendly sociopaths, and and actually, it's possibly the key to success in life. I think that's what we've learned.
Yes, you're a sociopath, and you will go far in life. I'm pretty sure Steve Jobs is a sociopath. For sure.
Was anyway. So yes.
Yes.
I hate to recommend it, but everyone's watching it and talking about it, and it's long, and I really don't like Shane Dawson in these things.
Oh, really?
I really don't. But at the same time, it's such a big topic right now, and it is an interesting subject. So you should check it out if you haven't. I mean, just search Jake Paul Shane Dawson. You'll find it right away.
I'll check him out.
And it's interesting. So check those out, and see you again soon.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for checking us out.
And Mogberry Pie, I'm now going to watch South Africa versus New Zealand. So best of luck to you guys, but I hope you lose. See you later. That's me being a sociopath.
Sociopath.